Hello everyone, this is Obscure Titan, and I wanted to give a kind of a special video regarding to a particular video topic that I wanted to go over, and it's going to be more of a conversation, if you will, about somebody that I have followed since 2019 who had to leave the internet in 2024. That I'm pretty sure many of you may have, or some of you may have known before. This is what I would call a tribute to Flowery Cemetery. There's not going to be a whole lot of scripting or anything like that. It's more about me just kind of talking about the story and whatnot, kind of more like conversating with y'all as a peer-to-peer kind of thing, as opposed to just making like a fancy script or what have you. It's just exactly that. I'll try to reference or recite the story experiences that I had with Flowery Cemetery to the best of my ability. I can't guarantee it 100% of the time, but just know that I'll do the best I can to explain my story and whatnot. And we're just going to go ahead and get things moving along. So really the only editing that's going to be involved is having the other plushies from other folks that have gotten commissions from her, and you'll be seeing that in the end. I mean, of course, by the time of recording this video, I'm going to be asking those people, but we'll just see if they're going to be included or not. But anyway, so it dates all the way back when I started my secondary YouTube channel. Well, not like a secondary, but just like a new channel after I deleted my old one, which was 8th Warrior 1. Then I moved into Obscure Titan in 2018. I would say about October 2018, but as I was working on Mortal Brothers 2019, I would eventually start working on the roster for the film, and as I was developing it even further, I was considering getting a plush of Shantae. And so, with this being the first plush from Flowery Cemetery from my experience, this was the character that I got. So really the only thing that was not part of the plush was this little vest that I created. And honestly, I think that the vest fits Shantae better than without it. Because for whatever reason, it kind of gives more kind of a good visual, you could say. Alright, let me put this back on. I actually made this vest, but the rest of this plushie is by Flowery Cemetery. I just made the vest for her, but anyway. So, pretty straightforward as far as the design goes. It pretty much resembles Shantae, and just for context, there's different kinds of plushies that she creates. So there are some smaller ones. I think there used to be ones that can sit down, but most of them, I think from that point, maybe around 2020, 2021, they can only stand. So I think that's from my experience anyways. But the medium ones have the sitting down ones as well as the standing up ones, and the standing up ones are more expensive than the sitting ones, but there it is. That's what I primarily ordered from anyway. So there's the pants, and there's fun fact about this ponytail. This is by far the only plush that I got from her that has like a bendy wire that can be used to whip up enemies. So I thought it was a pretty cool gimmick, you could say. So that's pretty neat. I'm not even sure if, because I know there was another Shantae plush that Cemetery created, that not the same one as this, but I'm not sure if it has like a bendy wire per se. But yeah, that was, and this was also the plush that I used for my Shantae versus Bowser plushies, plush videos. So from that point onward, we got along pretty well when we first met, and it was a pretty good, cordial business thing that I would be ordering plushes from her, and then from that point onward, By the way, the Shantae plush that I got was in April of 2019, and Roddy Tops would come next on June 2019. That would be about 2 months after the fact. I've already made my analysis video on Roddy Tops. I'm resting my case already on the character, so you already know where my stance is and all that. I think it's a top tier character and all that. But anyway, a very I really love the detail that goes into Roddy Tops, and especially the fact this kind of goes more of a half genie hero kind of style to that as a plushie. So this is actually really really awesome design that I still adore to this day. So here's the great detail. It just has a great amount of detail that I'll say. It definitely does. Has these little pieces put together here and there. Very nice. So it was obviously for one of the videos that I was making at the time. The Roddy's Hotcade were Shantae and Roddy Tops were on the cruise. Which, fun fact, that was Carnival Freedom when I went there 6 years ago. And it was still a fun memory that I've had with it. But I haven't been on to a cruise since then. Probably something I could do at some point in the future, but who knows. And so, from that point onward, we continue on to, I would say maybe around November to December, where I would start getting OCs. And so, Kuuka was the first one, the third plush that I got from her, but the first OC that I would get a plush of. And so, there she is. This was largely based off of Okmo-Ziko's design that I got from the digital artist in question. And so it pretty much matches a good amount of detail that I got. So the interesting fact about the waist cape and the vest is that they were originally supposed to be a dark blue from the concept that I created, but it was eventually seen that maybe Okmo-Ziko made a blue vest and the waist cape was black. So I mean, what the hell? I could probably go with it. It actually works out pretty well with the blue vest and the black waist cape. So, yeah. It was really, really awesome being able to have the OC, and oh no, some of that came off, but I can fix that later. But that was the third plushie that I got from her, and eventually made a video of this plushie being in the videos. And I also had Miss Mootified voice her in one of the videos that I had. So, she doesn't have the bandy wire like her daughter does, but I mean, she's the mother, so she probably already retired from being a genie guardian. So there is that. I mean, I really cherished a lot of the times and the work that she's put into them. But it also comes with some of the things that were going on behind the scenes. If you've been following Flowery Cemetery on Twitter, and if any of you have followed her there before she left the internet, you probably know what was going on. There have been some challenges that were going on, and so. But I will say that despite all those challenges, she has been fighting through them, just fighting to the best of her ability. So I'm going to go a little bit more into that later, but continuing on, in 2020, it was just these two characters. These were from the Zenectic series that I was working on. The first one that I had was Syra in her Empress form, that she would appear in Mortal Brothers 2019, Mortal Brothers 2019 3 Ragnarok, where after the events of the Zenectic World War, she would pretty much become the overhead of the second Zenectopolis, up until Unicron consumed it. So, yep, it matches up pretty nicely with the design that I had. It has a little more orangish gold. Well, not really gold, but just kind of more of this orangey look than the yellowish orange. But I was able to deal with that. I mean, it actually looks pretty nice with this orange that could come off as gold, so that works out really well. Yep. And it has a blonde hair. Yeah, blonde women are awesome. Nothing wrong with the dark ones, but anyway. Here's also Jabe in her summer form, a very simple one, probably the simplest of all of the plushies that I got. It was meant to be more kind of a fun character plushie than really is supposed to be a story-driven kind of thing. So it was actually kind of nice to have an OC just being in a summer form. There's Jabe, and she has that smirk on her face, and probably the only one of all of the plushies that looks symmetrical. This is the only asymmetrical facial expression that I got. Alright, very nice. So the last plushie is not even entirely by Flower Cemetery. She did much of the work by creating the body itself, but there are some parts that I created. So the first ones that I've added in are these earrings to Miss Alika's ears, the pentagram earrings. Second one that I added on to are the wings, and initially I was going to be having those wireframes to make it look like they can be posable, but it was just turning out to be a mess, so I just stuck with the static wings. Yeah. And I also added this tail. Probably the least impressive that I have created, but you know, it's whatever. I created the tail. That was supposed to be part of Miss Alika's design. And it was also getting a little bit more expensive, so I had to re-improvise what parts that can be, which Flowery can create, and what are some that I can also add on to it. It was a team effort kind of deal, so. But yeah. I kind of matched it a little bit more to her Mechatronic Legacy form than her Mortal Brothers 2022 design. I think it's kind of a mix and match if you really think about it, but the Mortal Brothers 2019 design kind of has Miss Alika with the dark blue and bright pink inverted crosses, whereas the Mechatronic Legacy version has both colors analogous to each other, which means contiguous or they're close. The Mechatronic Legacy version just has like a kind of a lavender or a lilac color for the inverted crosses, and the armor is just kind of like a muted dark purple, as opposed to what you see here with this. But you could say it's kind of like a miscellaneous version of Miss Alika, where she has both Mechatronic Legacy and Mortal Brothers 2019. Oh, well, yeah. It was really nice that I get to have a villain that would be made a plush of her, so yeah. So in addition, she would usually give anyone that does commissions of her these little extras. It's just something that she would occasionally give every now and then. Going back to Kuika for a bit, there was a gimmick that she designed where Kuika would have these little gaps right here on her cuffs, and I ended up ordering the cuffs online a while ago. The purpose for these chains to the cuffs is so that whenever she is summoned, she would be, I don't have to put those chains on, but the idea is that this plush was going to be hooked up to like a bottle of hers, where Kuika comes out of her bottle and the chains come from that. That's where you saw artwork of her having those chains. It's really a symbol of a genie's enslavement or servitude to the lamp. And I'm gonna have to fix that little gem on that cape later, but that'll be for another time. But I've really cherished the plushies, and I've also cherished the friendship that she and I have shared for, I'd say, maybe 5+ years. Just to make the long story short, she left the internet at about September 20th, I believe, 24th, on Instagram in 2024. There have been some challenges that have been going on, especially with, you know, if you already know, the world's been getting crazier, and the internet and all that sort of stuff. And so she's also been facing mental challenges, and again, it's just been a really tough battle, and so it was sad that she had to leave, but it's for the best for her health, and it's just what some people have to do sometimes, because if you can't handle things that are just too tough, you just have to take a step back and really focus on yourself, and just try to live the best of your life in any way you can. That's just how it happens. I just wanted to say that I'm really grateful for all the times that she and I have shared as friends on Twitter and Instagram, and all the plushies that she's created. Not just that, but also any of the friends that I have made along the way while she was online. Especially with one who I'm still friends with to this day, that he hasn't been as active as he used to, but it's just how that is. So actually, is it okay? I thought for a minute it looked like it was kind of wearing out, but no, it's just a reflection anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have for the plushies, and I'm just hoping that Flower Cemetery is doing really well. And I will be showing off the images of the plushies just depending on who I have asked after the recording of this video. Like I said, it's just kind of like right off the cuff. Just me conversating with y'all about my experience with Flower Cemetery, and if y'all happen to have followed her until she left the internet, feel free to share them in the comments. I'd be happy to give y'all a platform to share your stories. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing your stories as well. And here is a tribute.